Hey, family. It's me, Queenie Brown. Thank you for joining me at today's reading of the Self-Love Lessons. 7 lessons every woman must learn about herself and the power of womanhood. And today we are on episode number 44, and we're talking about, are you in hiding? So we're in lesson number 2, self-love lesson number 2, and that is how to know what you need so that you can ensure that you get it. And so we've been talking about boundaries and understanding your value. And today's topic is a bit close to my heart. It's going to be a little vulnerable share. Um, I think I've been resisting, but this journey has just been opening doors for me and opening wounds for me. And I'm sure it's been doing the same for you. I've spoken with a few people who have been journeying with us. And yeah, so we're right on time, right? Okay, so join me today on page 213. If you haven't already downloaded your copy of the Self Love Lessons, please feel free to do that at www.queeniebrown.com. And we are going to go ahead and get started on page 213. So, haters are going to hate, right? That's what they do. So, let's just talk about it. Are you in hiding? What or who are you hiding from? Until I finally embraced who I am, I found myself constantly hiding. And just as an aside, for those of you who are just joining us, I published this book back in 2011, and it took me 11 years to write the book. So I started in the year 2000, writing and documenting my journey through my healing process. And this was a book that God poured through me to help me love me. And so he invited me to revisit this back in December. And all of these lessons are right on time again for this season that I'm in my life. So just keep in mind, this book was written in 2011 as I'm reading through this. Okay. All right. So until I finally embraced who I am, I found myself constantly hiding. I wasn't always that way. I can remember a time that started before puberty when I never felt the need to hide. But as I grew older, I learned a very interesting lesson that seemed to shape my identity throughout my young adulthood. As a young girl, I became a model and was quite good at it, I must say. I was tall and way too skinny. Living in LA made it all the more available as a hobby. Modeling wasn't something that I sought out in the beginning. Actually, one day, Queen Mom and I were in a grocery store and we were approached by an agent who offered to train me. He asked that my mom enroll me into his charm school and allow me to begin working for his agency. I was 11 years old and boy, was I excited. Today, that would be creepy. But back then, I was all in. I participated in countless photo shoots, fashion shows, parades, pageants, hair shows, etc. I was given opportunities early in life to meet some very interesting people and learn a lot about the entertainment industry. The biggest lesson I can say that I learned was that people are people. Some are well known and most are not, but they are all the same people. I was very fortunate that I had the opportunity to learn how to carry myself as a woman. I learned about poise, about self respect, about femininity, confidence, makeup, and fashion. I also learned how to accentuate my own beauty in order to present myself in a way that wasn't overly done, but merely enhanced. All of this would be extremely valuable as I grew into a more mature womanhood. What I didn't learn was this: the stronger I grew into my own strength, power, and beauty, the more haters would show up in my life. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. Needless to say, I excelled in runway modeling, so much so that I was often hired to choreograph fashion shows, train and fit models, both male and female, stage photo shoots, and manage every aspect of show production. It was fun and a great adventure at such a young age, and I was good at it and very proud of myself. The one thing about me, and those who know me intimately can attest to this, is that I find it very difficult to toot my own horn. I'm not a proud woman, and I quite naturally find it more comfortable to shower compliments on others rather than acknowledge my own successes. Being this way made sharing my successes with you so much more of a challenge for me than sharing my flaws. That's also why self love is the lesson of my life. It's about learning to celebrate the great things about me while I also learn from the mistakes I've made. Haters are going to hate. Anyway, there were times when the people who I thought were friends, close friends, best friends even, would take pleasure in publicly ridiculing or embarrassing me. It started in puberty when all of the world was introduced to the girls. My 36 double F set of twins. If that wasn't enough to get some of my friends to despise me, being light skinned, having hazel eyes, and long brown hair made my life even worse. If you're not a member of the African American community, I'll let you in on a not so well kept secret. The institution of slavery created a widely spread rivalry between lighter skinned Black folks and darker skinned Black folks. When I first learned about this, I didn't believe it still existed. Actually, it wasn't until I was in therapy in my late 20s that I realized the similarity between many of my childhood girlfriends that incessantly hurt me. I recalled an incident when a friend and I went to the mall to hang out, as most 12 or 13-year-olds used to do. Being a young girl, I was never very comfortable with the attention that the twins would draw, but the fact was that they did get the boys' attention. On this particular day, there was a group of about 6 or 7 boys standing outside a department store just inside the mall. As we walked out of the department store into the mall, my so-called friend swept my foot behind hang on. My so-called friend swept her foot behind one of mine to trip me. I didn't just fall down. I fell onto a full rack of clothing, and both I and the rack fell onto the floor in a loud crash. My friend, along with the crowd of boys, burst into laughter as I tried to pick myself up and the clothes from the ground. My feelings were so hurt, but I had become used to this abuse from this particular friend, and I just played it off. I walked past the boys as they continued to ridicule me right along with my friend. It saddens me to even think about this and all the other things that I put up with to remain friends with her. And trust me, there was so much more abuse that I tolerated and I remained very close friends with this woman until my early 20s. Why I thought it was appropriate to be treated like that, I don't know. But I valued her friendship and chose to have compassion for her instead of me. I just could never find it in me to hurt anyone intentionally. I was so darn sensitive, and even hurting someone else's feelings would hurt me. I'd rather be hurt than hurt someone else. Many of you can relate, I'm sure. I used to hate this about me. It felt like a curse. I share this with you because this was just the beginning of a belief that began to develop on the inside of me. And that belief was me just being me makes other people uncomfortable. When they are uncomfortable, they will hurt, reject, ridicule, or even humiliate me publicly, even when I least expect it. And in my naivete, I thought I had done something or said something that caused them to hurt me. This belief was reinforced over and over in many different friendships until I finally decided that I had no interest in participating in close female friendships. In all my life, the male friends that I had would never dream of hurting me, and I just felt safer in friendships with them. When I really didn't realize What I really didn't realize is that I still longed to have an intimate female relationship, but ones that were healthy, loving, supportive, encouraging, and not competitive. I just didn't think it was possible for me unless I changed me. In order for me to have good friendships, I believed that I would have to dim my light so that other women weren't made uncomfortable and weren't provoked to hurt me. And that's exactly what I did. I decided to become someone who didn't have big dreams, who didn't stand out, who didn't rock the boat, who didn't draw attention, who was happy riding in the back seat instead of being the one who was driving. As long as I stayed in that position, I could have close girlfriendships, not get hurt, and everybody would be happy. Isn't that twisted? It's a good thing I grew out of that. Stepping into my call, writing this book, and embracing the fullness of who I am has really been an adjustment for me. Aside from overcoming the fear that I had about letting my light shine brightly and not being rejected, I have the unique opportunity to embrace an entirely new community of girlfriends. The longing for the female connection is fully satisfied within that call and God placed on my life. God told me during my silent weekend that He would restore the lost friendships and relationships and intimate girlfriendships 100-fold. He told me that I would lead a huge union of girlfriends into the most powerful position of all, superwomanhood. What an honor for me. I pray that you receive all that God intends for you to receive from our union as well. It wasn't until I met my dear friend Cheryl that I realized that there was a such thing as a true friend. She was a loving ally who was not in competition with me, but instead she encouraged me to shine. I did the same for her. Interestingly, she had similar experiences with women throughout her youth, and we were both searching for the kind of friend that we wanted to be. From that friendship, I knew what was possible. We were very close for 10 years. Sadly, I lost my dear friend Cheryl to breast cancer a few years ago. I do miss my girl. I had to learn a valuable lesson, not speaking what God tells me to speak and not showing up as who God created me to be serves no one. How someone responds to me and my message is their issue. My assignment is always to simply show up, deliver the message, and speak the truth in love, and let the responses be their own. And so that's what we all get to learn from being in hiding. When you hide who you are really keeping yourself from being able to impact the people that you were called to touch. My life was designed to be a beacon of light for those who are in my world. And when I decided that being me causes people to hurt me, and so I can't be me, and I'm going to not show up and not be big and not be bold and not speak up, then that cheated everybody in my life out of the gift that God put me here to deliver. And so I want to encourage you to not dim your light. People's response to you is their response. That doesn't mean you have to change. Sometimes you need to be a reflection. God showed me a long time ago, He told me that I am to be a mirror sometimes to people and show back and reflect back to them what's possible. But sometimes in their woundedness, they might find that reflection off putting, or they might find themselves in judgment or comparison to who I show up as. And that has nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean that I'm supposed to bow down. It doesn't mean that I'm supposed to not show up. So I invite you to do the same. Allow yourself to show up powerfully in every situation. Hello, Isla. Hello, Veronica. And thank you for agreeing. We have to be ourselves. We have to show up powerfully, and we have to let our light shine, because we were put here to be the light, right? To be salt and light in the world. So thank you so much for watching today. This was a bit of a vulnerable share for me. Like I said in the reading, I'm not really one to toot my own horn, and it's uncomfortable for me because of my wounds, but I'm growing too, right? We're all growing through this together. So tomorrow we're going to go a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk about, what are you meditating on? So thanks so much for joining me. Right now we're going to retreat to the Mother Love community, and I'm going to share a little bit more intimate details about some of this. And I invite you guys to join me. If you haven't already downloaded the book, please go to www.queeniebrown.com, download your copy, and then join us in the Mother Love community. All right. God bless you. Thanks so much. Take good care. Bye-bye. That's right. Makes us stronger.